Hey developers, today we're going to look at the 5 most common mistakes that web developers make. Stay all the way to the end and I'll give you a bonus 6th one. Let's take a look. Alright, so here we are. This is a presentation on the 5 common web developer mistakes, the most common web developer mistakes. Let's begin. So I think we've all seen this before, is that you start writing your code, you're getting pretty far into it, it works great, you open up Chrome, you're looking at it, looks great, then you open it up in Safari and it looks like crap. Or even worse yet, you get deployed to production, it's out there on the web, someone emails you saying that it doesn't look right in Safari or Firefox or a different browser, or heaven forbid they're using an older version of Internet Explorer. So this is a really common mistake a lot of people make, a lot of new developers make, especially if you're just writing web pages for yourself, is that you really need to test in more than one browser. So you'll see graphical glitches in different browsers if you don't test in them. So one way you can definitely fix this is to test your web page in every browser, and definitely, if it's really important, check different versions. There's tools like Browser Stack that can really help you with that. And also be really careful about vendor-specific options like WebKit, Moz, or MS. So you need to be careful when you use those. That way you have the same look and feel between all the different browsers. At the very least, you should just try to make sure it works in Safari, Chrome, and Firefox. But there's more you can do, definitely. The next most common mistake that people make is you're not validating user input. So really, and for a security standpoint, never trust the user input that you get. So when you're writing forms, understand that you should be doing 2 types of validation. First, be very specific about that validation on your input. So make sure that if you say address, that you're specific on what type of address you want. I mean, this sounds like common sense, but people do miss this. That you also validate it using some kind of JavaScript on the front end, but also definitely make sure that you validate it on the back end as well, because you don't want to have to worry about people putting in malicious code in there or cross-site scripting or something like that. So definitely validate it on both sides. Another important thing that a lot of people miss is responsive design. So in other words, does your web page look okay on all different browsers? Does it look okay on all different mobile and web and different screen sizes and things like that? So it's really easy to miss this, especially when you're first starting out. You should learn how to create responsive design. I mean, at the very least, open up the Chrome browser if you're using that. Click different screen sizes there. If you're really serious, you may want to use a simulator. So there's a lot of things you can do here. And there's a bunch of different emulators. There's websites that can help you with this. But you definitely want to make sure that it's responsive. For Google will actually give you a penalty if your website isn't mobile friendly. I even see, just searching through the web, a lot of people's personal sites aren't responsive, and I think that's kind of a bad indication if you have a portfolio site and it's not responsive. Kind of seems a little lazy. At least if you're creating a portfolio site, try to put a minimum amount of effort, make sure it looks okay in mobile, and try just a few different screen sizes. It's not too hard to do. The next thing I see a lot of new developers, web developers doing, is they stick with libraries. They're not really looking for libraries that are being maintained. In other words, whenever you have a project, you should, when you put a new library in, you should double check to make sure that it doesn't have a million different issues, and you should check to see if it's still being maintained. You just don't want to put anything in your project just because it's out there. You want to do a little bit of research to make sure that what you're putting into your project makes sense, and you also maybe dig a little bit into it to try to figure out how it works. That way, when you have a problem and you submit that GitHub issue, that you don't have to rely on them solely. You might be able to fix it yourself, or better yet, you may find another library that works even better. So be careful about which JavaScript libraries that you bring into your projects. Make sure that they're well maintained, that they have enough stars, that they have enough exposure out there, and that it's worth putting into your project. You may want to just create a sample project, just do a quick code check to see how it works before you fully implement it into your system. And be aware that if it is a smaller project and there's not many maintainers, not many people contributing to it, it's going to take a long time to get updates and fixes, which is not great. So this is interesting. We all want to make amazing, flashy websites, but you really need to realize that you are going to sacrifice some site speed if you don't know what you're doing. You have these really large images that you can maybe have compressed that will take a long time to load. Your mobile sites will run really slow. People who aren't on fast internet connections will hate your site. You'll get a penalty from Google if your site takes more than a few seconds to load. I see this a lot on like WordPress sites. You'll see these crazy WordPress sites with these amazing graphics, these themes that people put in there, but the WordPress, and partly because of WordPress, it's really slow. And what you'll see is that if a web page takes more than a second or two to load, you get a pretty high bounce rate. In other words, people just click back on their browser when they're trying to open it up. So you definitely want to keep speed in mind when you're when you're just first starting out and you're creating your website. Yeah, definitely this is pretty common. Bloated websites are everywhere. And I like Google Page Speed Insights. I did a video where I went through some personal websites of other people and I ran it through Google Page Insights just to get an idea of some metrics behind how well they implemented some things, how fast it was. You can do that on your own site, and that's a real easy way to see how you're doing. And for the last one, here's my bonus, and a lot of people might miss this, is just forgetting about accessibility, that there is more than just you and me looking at these web pages. There are people that are visually impaired, that have other disabilities, that might be looking, and there's some really easy things you can do on your webpage to make sure that screen readers can look through the site and be able to use it. And there's some semantic tags. There's something called ARIA that I won't get into in this video, but there's ways of making your web page accessible to all. And I think when you see these rubrics of how good web developers are out online, usually accessibility is one of the check marks. Are you creating accessible sites for everybody? So keep that in mind. That is the last one. So I hope you like my list of some common mistakes that web developers forget about. If you like these type of videos, please click that subscribe button. That really helps me. Also, if you really love it, click that little bell icon. That helps me too. And if you are a super fan and you made it all the way to the end of this video, I want you to do me a favor. In the comments below, tell me some things that you think people are missing that are common mistakes from new web developers that aren't on this list. I'm going to take all your guys' responses and I will pick a random person probably in the next 2 weeks. I'll probably give it a week. And I will give you a free copy of my book. But you have to leave a comment below with what you think is something that people are missing. And I will pick randomly from the list, and then I will try to message you on YouTube with your free book in just one person. So leave a comment below with what you think people are missing, and I will randomly choose one of you. Could be you. You never know. So thank you for watching. Take care, guys. Bye.